We're going to go on here. As I've told you, the seals cover the entire church age, when men can and will be saved. The sixth seal covers the tribulation period, because it's a time that all millions, hundreds of millions of people will be saved. The seals cover the church age. The trumpets are messages to God's people about the tribulation, the cause of the tribulation, what happens. The trumpets and the bowls of wrath are the same thing. They're describing the same thing. I can best put it this way. The sixth seal is like a reporter coming up on a big airplane crash. And he's walking up and giving you an overview of what he sees in the crash and the destruction. The trumpets, the first four trumpets in particular, are him interviewing four people who saw that plane crash. And they describe it from what they saw. Different views, different angles, different outcomes, but the same plane crash. The bowls of wrath are covering the same thing as the trumpets, but they are the outcome. It's like that reporter going back later or the next day and interviewing four more people. And they have their view of what they're seeing, what they saw well after the crash, or the outcome of the crash. The seals cover the entire church age. The sixth seal covers the tribulation. The trumpets and the bowls of wrath are covering the same thing. The start of the tribulation, what starts it, and the outcome of that by the end of the tribulation. The trumpets are messages to God's people. The bowls of wrath are the outcome of those who reject him. So now we're going to go on into the fall of Babylon. And we're going to start in chapter 16, verse 18, because that's where you need to start this. Just prior to that, it has the seven bowls of wrath. And let's start with Revelation 16:17. And the seventh angel poured out his bowl upon the air, and a loud voice came out of the temple from the throne saying, "It is done." That is the outcome. It's done. That message to those that are rejecting Christ, that are following the antichrist and the kingdom of the beast, and the results of it, it's done. And now we're going into the Babylon and the fall of Babylon. The fall of Babylon is not in the middle of the tribulation or at the end of the tribulation. We will clearly see the fall of Babylon starts the tribulation. When Babylon, that nation that rules the earth with its military might, power, stocks, dollars, falls, it will cause the world's economies and governments to fall. In 1 hour of one day, Babylon will fall, and the nations of the earth will fall with it as a result of that. The kingdom of the beast will be a group of nations coming together to restore order, to bring structure, money, stability back to mankind. And everybody on the broad road to destruction has you in just endless disasters, earth-shattering, just earth-changing disasters one after another. If you see some of my previous messages, that's impossible. But let's go here to Revelation 16:18. And there were flashes of lightning. This is mentioned right after the bowls of wrath. The bowls of wrath are the results of those who reject Christ, go against the saints in their marriage. They follow the kingdom of the beast and the antichrist. And it is done. It's over now. And there were flashes of lightning. This all goes with the message to those. This religious Babylon falling, this message in chapter 17 with religious Babylon goes directly to the bowls of wrath. That's why it's brought right back into the subject Right there at the end of the bowls of wrath, it is done. And there were flashes of lightning and sounds and peals of thunder. And it was a great earthquake, such as there had not been since man came to be upon the earth. You're going to have this giant earthquake. So great an earthquake was it, and so mighty. And the great city, there's only two great cities in the book of Revelation. It's Babylon and Jerusalem. This is Babylon. And the great city was split into three parts. This is describing that asteroid hit off the coast of Babylon. It's not another new, weird, over-the-top disaster taking over the entire earth. And the great city was split into three parts. And the cities of the nations fell. This has to be the beginning of the tribulation, because as this asteroid falls, as this is showing here, the first thing it's showing is this giant earthquake, and the great city, Babylon, falls, and it's split into three parts, and the cities of the nations fell. Not already fell 3.5 years ago, 7 years ago. No, they fall at this point. This can't be the end of the tribulation. This is the great cities, and we're going to go on and see in commercial Babylon who this is and what this is. And Babylon the Great was remembered before God to give her the cup of the wine of his fierce wrath. And look at here, saints. This is where there's so much confusion. And every island fled away, and the mountains were not found. And huge hailstones, about 100 pounds each, came down from heaven upon men. And men blasphemed God because of the plague of the hail, because its plague was extremely severe. Like I told you, almost all these disasters that these people on the broad road to destruction have one after another, over and over and over, 20, 15, 30, 40 of them, they're really just one thing: the fall of Babylon with an asteroid hitting and the results of it. That's what the sixth seal is. That's what the first four trumpets are. That's what the first four bowls of wrath are, describing that. So it says, in every island fled away, and mountains were not found. Some people ridiculously tell you that this happened twice. How could it happen twice? And they say that because, as I said, in the seals, it's the time of the church age when men can and will be saved. And the sixth seal covers the tribulation period. And let's see what we say here. It's like I told you, that reporter going down and coming up on a crash scene and giving you an overview of what he sees. Later, you'll get the witnesses that saw it crash and the results of the crash. And in Revelation 6:12, and I looked when he broke the sixth seal, and there was a great earthquake. Just what we read there, a great earthquake. And the sun became black as sackcloth made of hair, and the whole moon became like blood, and the stars of the sky fell to earth, as a fig tree casts its unripe grapes when shaken by a great wind. And the sky was split apart like a scroll when it is rolled up. And listen here, saints, again. And every mountain and island were moved out of their places. And again, to show you that this is the beginning of the tribulation. And the kings of the earth, and the great men, and the commanders, and the rich, and the strong, and every slave and every free man hid themselves in the caves and among the rocks. This is clearly the beginning of the tribulation. This is describing an asteroid hit. And these people to tell you once or twice across the entire earth, every island and every mountain will be gone, just don't see it. They don't have the revelation. This is talking about where the asteroid hits, off the coast of Babylon. In that area, every island will be gone. It'll level on them. It'll just disintegrate them. And all the mountains in the area of where it hits, and the heart of Babylon. And we're going to see where and how that happens, and who it happens to. And you'll see how the tribulation will start, and the kingdom of the beast will quickly rise up. But for now, we got this asteroid hitting. We're seeing an overview of it in the sixth seal. In verse 13, and the stars of the sky fell to the earth as a fig tree casts its unripe figs when shaken by a wind. I saw this one day in a vision. I couldn't see the asteroid hitting, but I saw just a giant plume of smoke go up. And the cloud was rolling up like a nuclear cloud, but bigger and way more vast. And as that cloud was rolling up, when you see a nuclear bomb documentary or something, or even one of these good documentaries on an asteroid hitting, it just rolls up like a scroll and rolls. And out of it was coming these boulders, debris from the asteroid hitting. I couldn't see the asteroid hitting. Now I know that's what it was. And they were on fire, the rocks and the debris, and they were columns of fire coming out of them, and then large, long columns of smoke as they rained down for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of miles. And I heard everybody saying, it started, hide. And what do you see after that in verse 16? And they said to the mountains, all these people, rich, poor, kings, everybody, where around the world? No, how could that happen around the world? It's ridiculous. In Babylon, and at the heart of Babylon. And as that asteroid hits, and the rocks and the debris and the destruction are spread, and they said to the mountain and to the rocks, fall on us and hide us from the presence of him who sits on the throne and from the wrath of the Lamb. And the great day of their wrath is come, and who's able to stand? It's coming. It's there. It's the beginning. So in this seal we see that. And in the trumpets. And you have to see my messages of how the trumpets and the bowls of wrath are the same thing. One, a message to God's people that go into the tribulation or get saved in the tribulation. The bowls of wrath, the outcome of those who reject Christ, reject the saints as they're preaching the word, and turn to the kingdom of the beast and the antichrist. But this asteroid will hit in an ocean and cause those islands and mountains around there to fall. And in Revelation 8, chapter 8, verse 8, and the second angel sounded, and something like a great mountain burning with fire was thrown into the sea. Is this a picture of an asteroid or what? And something like a great mountain was thrown into the sea, and a third of the sea became blood. Immediately, a third of that ocean where it hits, the life will be taken from it. The animal life, the creatures, the life in the ocean will die. And a third of the creatures which were in the sea and had life died, and a third of the ships were destroyed. This is as it hits. In that entire ocean, a third of the creatures and a third of the ships will be destroyed. You see in the bowls of wrath, I don't have time to go there now, that by the end of the tribulation, the whole ocean there is dead. All the creatures are dead. See, it's the outcome of these. And all of the ships have sunk. And then let's go on. In chapter 8, verse 10. And the third angel sounded, and a great star fell from heaven, burning like a torch. And it fell on a third of the rivers and on the springs of water. Again, it's not 3, 4 disasters, one after another. It's another view, another picture. A great star from heaven fell burning like a torch. And this is it as it blows up and spreads that debris, will not only kill the ocean, but it will kill the fresh water supply for a third of that nation Babylon. So we see these things as we go on. But what do we also see in Luke chapter 21? Verses 25 and 26. Now listen to this, saints. This will show you it. It will prove it to you. The Lord talking about the end times. And in 21, verse 25. And there will be signs in the sun and the moon and the stars. You read that in the sixth seal and the trumpets and the bowls of wrath. About how that cloud, that debris is spreading through a vast area and will block out the sun and the moon and the stars. And going on. And upon the earth, dismay among nations in perplexity at the roaring of the sea and the waves. Not in the middle of the tribulation, not at the end and the whole world's destroyed. This is the beginning. The nations are perplexed. And what are they perplexed about? Besides the other thing that happened, I said it'll hit in an ocean. And at the roaring of the sea and the waves. I used to always understand it that the waves could be up to 600 feet high. That would depend on it being a rather moderate sized asteroid. I've seen now where bigger asteroids can make waves 1 mile to 3 miles high. Imagine that, but the asteroid can't be too big. It's only going to bring down Babylon and cause the nations to fall that depend on it, making room for the rise of the kingdom of the beast. And now let's go on to verse 26 in Luke 21. Men fainting from fear and the expectation of the things which are coming upon the world, not that have been going on for 3.5 or 7 years. These waves and the sea roaring, and men are fainting. Remember when 9/11 happened and just 2 towers fell? All around the world, people were gasping, holding their mouth. People were literally fainting from 2 towers falling. Imagine what'll happen if the entire New York City and Washington, D.C. area are gone. The world's money supply, the world's stock market, the world's communication centers with Europe, the might and power of the military, the FBI, the CIA, the Navy, the entire military of the United States is brought through that area too. Washington, D.C. and New York City. All those things of the world are tied up in that one place. And men, when they see that, not 2 towers fall, but New York City and Washington, D.C., and a vast area around it gone, every island gone, the mountains leveled, the money supply, the stock supply, the communications, the military of the United States, the government of the United States, totally gone, as it says, in 1 hour of one day. That's where you mark day 1 of the tribulation starting. That's how you can count it to the days. And going on in 26, and men fainting from fear and the expectation of things which are coming upon the world. Just the expectation of what that means for an asteroid to hit and the United States to fall and the implications of it. Imagine the implications for NATO, Europe, China, which totally depends upon us and our buying. All around the world, all the countries that depend on us, our military, our money, our support, our government, gone in an instant, in 1 hour of one day, as it says. For the powers of the heavens will be shaken. These are all describing one thing, the start of the tribulation and the fall of Babylon. Babylon, military, might, commerce, dollars will fall. The nations of the earth will fall behind that. But religious Babylon, which we're going to go on to in the next message, because this is going to take several messages to get this out as we go into chapter 17. Religious Babylon, you're going to see another mystery. I just had those messages where the Lord spoke in my ear and said, the woman in the wilderness. Again, we're going to find a woman in a wilderness as we go on to the fall of Babylon. But the first thing we saw, the first thing we'll see in chapter 17 is the fall of religious Babylon. Who that is, what she does, because she's a harlot, and the implications of that. And as I have said, be the voice of one crying in the wilderness. Tell your people to repent. We need to repent. We all need to repent and prepare the way of the Lord, for he's coming. He's right down the road.